Subscribe for more content, comment your thoughts, let's get started.
Famous personalities, extended biographies. 1. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was a famous scientist. He was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, Germany. His family was Jewish, and they moved to Munich when he was a baby. Einstein was a quiet child who showed an early interest in science and mathematics. When he was 5, his father gave him a compass. Einstein was fascinated by the invisible forces that made the needle move. This curiosity led him to explore the natural world. Einstein's early education was not smooth. He did not speak fluently until he was 9. He had a rebellious attitude towards authoritarian teachers and often clashed with them. In 1895, at the age of 16, Einstein took the entrance exam for the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. He failed the exam but showed exceptional talent in mathematics and physics. He was allowed to attend the school after completing his secondary education in Aarau, Switzerland. Einstein graduated in 1900 and struggled to find a teaching job. He worked at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, where he evaluated patent applications for electromagnetic devices. This job allowed him to think deeply about physics during his spare time. In 1905, while still working at the patent office, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers in the Annalen der Physik, a leading scientific journal. These papers addressed the photoelectric effect, Brownian motion, special relativity, and the equivalence of mass and energy, E equals mc squared. Einstein's work revolutionized physics and earned him international recognition. He was appointed as a professor at various European universities, including Prague, Zurich, and Berlin. In 1921, he received the Nobel Prize in Physics for his explanation of the photoelectric effect. Despite his fame, Einstein remained humble and dedicated to his work. Einstein moved to the United States in 1933 to escape the rising anti-Semitism in Germany. He accepted a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. During World War II, he urged President Franklin D. Roosevelt to develop atomic weapons before Nazi Germany could. However, he later advocated for nuclear disarmament and world peace. Einstein was also a civil rights activist. He spoke out against racism and supported the American Civil Rights Movement. He maintained a friendship with African-American civil rights leader W.E.B. Du Bois and campaigned for the establishment of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Albert Einstein died on April 18, 1955, in Princeton. His contributions to science, particularly his theories of relativity, continue to influence modern physics. Einstein remains a symbol of intellectual curiosity and humanitarian values. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was a great artist, inventor, and thinker. He was born on April 15, 1452, in Vinci, Italy, a small town near Florence. Leonardo was the illegitimate son of a notary, Piero da Vinci, and a peasant woman named Caterina. Despite his illegitimacy, Leonardo received a good education. He showed an early talent for art, and at the age of 14, He was apprenticed to the renowned artist Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. Leonardo quickly became known for his artistic skills. He collaborated with Verrocchio on several works, including the Baptism of Christ. Legend has it that Verrocchio was so impressed by Leonardo's angel in the painting that he declared he would never paint again. Leonardo's early works, such as Annunciation and Adoration of the Magi, showcased his mastery of detail, perspective, and human anatomy. In 1482, Leonardo moved to Milan to work for Duke Ludovico Sforza. During his time in Milan, Leonardo painted The Last Supper, one of his most famous works. The painting captures the moment Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him. Leonardo's use of composition and emotional expression in the painting was revolutionary. Leonardo was not only an artist but also an inventor and scientist. He kept detailed notebooks filled with sketches and ideas for inventions, including flying machines, military tanks, and hydraulic pumps. He studied anatomy by dissecting human bodies, which allowed him to create accurate and lifelike representations of the human form. His notebooks also contain studies of nature, including plants, animals, and geological formations. In 1503, Leonardo returned to Florence, where he began working on the Mona Lisa. This portrait of a mysterious woman with an enigmatic smile has become one of the most famous paintings in the world. The identity of the sitter is still debated, but many believe she was Lisa Gherardini, a wealthy merchant's wife. Leonardo spent his later years traveling between Florence, Milan, and Rome. He continued to work on various projects, including plans for a grand canal system and a colossal bronze horse statue. In 1516, he moved to France at the invitation of King Francis I, who admired his work. Leonardo spent the last years of his life at the Château du Clos-Luz, near the king's residence at Amboise. Leonardo da Vinci died on May 2, 1519. He left behind a legacy of artistic masterpieces and visionary inventions. His work continues to inspire artists, scientists, and thinkers worldwide. Marie Curie. Marie Curie was a pioneering scientist known for her work on radioactivity. She was born Maria Sklodowska on November 7, 1867, in Warsaw, Poland. Her parents were teachers, and they instilled in her a love of learning. Despite facing financial difficulties and the restrictions placed on women in education, Marie excelled in her studies. In 1891, Marie moved to Paris to study at the Sorbonne University. She adopted the French version of her name and focused on physics and mathematics. Marie earned her degree in physics in 1893 and a degree in mathematics the following year. She met Pierre Curie, a fellow scientist, and they married in 1895. The couple had two daughters, Irene and Eve. Marie and Pierre Curie conducted groundbreaking research on radioactivity, a term Marie coined. They discovered two new elements, polonium, named after Marie's native Poland, and radium. Their work was based on the earlier discoveries of Henri Becquerel, who found that uranium emitted rays. The Curie's research demonstrated that these rays were not a result of chemical reactions but came from the atomic structure of the elements. In 1903, Marie and Pierre Curie, along with Henri Becquerel, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on radioactivity. Marie was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize. Tragically, Pierre Curie died in a traffic accident in 1906. Despite her grief, Marie continued their research and succeeded Pierre as the professor of general physics at the Sorbonne, becoming the first woman to hold this position. In 1911, Marie Curie received her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for her discovery of radium and polonium and her investigation of their properties. She remains the only person to have won Nobel Prizes in two different scientific fields. During World War I, Marie developed mobile X-ray units, known as Little Curies, which were used to diagnose injuries on the battlefield. She also trained women to operate these machines. Marie Curie's research had significant implications for medical science, particularly in cancer treatment. However, her prolonged exposure to radioactive materials took a toll on her health. She died on July 4, 1934, from aplastic anemia, a condition caused by her exposure to radiation. Marie Curie's legacy lives on through her contributions to science and the advancement of women in STEM fields. Her daughter, Irene Joliot-Curie, followed in her footsteps, winning a Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1935. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was a famous writer and playwright. He was born on April 23, 1564, in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. His father, John Shakespeare, was a glove maker and local politician, and his mother, Mary Arden, came from a wealthy farming family. Shakespeare attended the King's New School in Stratford, where he received a classical education. At the age of 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, who was 8 years his senior. They had 3 children, Susanna, and twins Hamnet and Judith. By the late 1580s, Shakespeare had moved to London to pursue a career in theatre. He became an actor and a playwright, joining a company of actors called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which later became the King's Men under King James I. Shakespeare's early works included comedies like A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Taming of the Shrew, and Much Ado About Nothing. He also wrote historical plays such as Henry IV and Richard III. These plays were popular with audiences and showcased Shakespeare's talent for combining humor, drama, and complex characters. In the early 1600s, Shakespeare began writing his famous tragedies, including Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. These plays explored themes of ambition, power, jealousy, and betrayal. Shakespeare's ability to capture the complexities of the human experience made his work timeless. His use of language, including metaphors, similes, and wordplay, enriched his plays and added depth to his characters. Shakespeare also wrote poetry, including 154 sonnets that explored themes of love, beauty, and mortality. His sonnets remain some of the most admired and studied poems in the English language. Shakespeare's plays were performed at the Globe Theatre in London, which was built in 1599 by the Lord Chamberlain's Men. The theatre was an open-air amphitheatre that could hold up to 3,000 spectators. Performances at the Globe were lively events, with audiences reacting vocally to the action on stage. In 1613, the Globe Theatre burned down during a performance of Henry VIII, when a cannon used for special effects set the thatched roof on fire. The theatre was rebuilt the following year, but Shakespeare retired to Stratford-upon-Avon around this time. He continued to write until his death on April 23, 1616. Shakespeare's work has had a profound impact on literature and theatre. His plays have been translated into every major language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright. Shakespeare's insights into the human condition and his mastery of language have made him one of the greatest writers in history. Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton was a brilliant mathematician and physicist. He was born on January 4, 1643, in Woolsthorpe, England. His father died before he was born, and his mother remarried, leaving young Isaac in the care of his grandmother. Newton's early education was at local schools, where he showed an aptitude for mechanical and scientific pursuits. In 1661, Newton entered Trinity College, Cambridge. He studied the works of great scientists like Galileo, Kepler, and Descartes. Newton's curiosity led him to explore various fields, including mathematics, optics, and astronomy. He graduated in 1665, just as the Great Plague forced the university to close. Newton returned to Woolsthorpe, where he spent the next 2 years in intense study and experimentation. During this period, known as Newton's Annus Mirabilis, or Year of Wonders, he made significant discoveries. He developed the laws of motion and universal gravitation, which he famously demonstrated with the story of an apple falling from a tree. Newton's laws explained how objects move and interact, forming the foundation of classical mechanics. In 1667, Newton returned to Cambridge and became a Fellow of Trinity College. He was appointed Lucasian Professor of Mathematics in 1669, a position he held for 30 years. Newton's work on optics included experiments with prisms that demonstrated the spectrum of light. He also invented the reflecting telescope, which used mirrors instead of lenses to improve image clarity. Newton's most famous work, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, was published in 1687. The Principia outlined his laws of motion and the law of universal gravitation. It is considered one of the most important scientific works ever written. In addition to his scientific achievements, Newton had a keen interest in alchemy and theology. He wrote extensively on biblical interpretation and alchemical experiments, although much of this work was not published during his lifetime. Newton's religious beliefs influenced his scientific thinking, and he saw his work as revealing the divine order of the universe. Newton served as warden and later master of the Royal Mint, where he implemented reforms to combat counterfeiting. He was knighted by Queen Anne in 1705, becoming Sir Isaac Newton. Newton's later years were marked by disputes with other scientists, including Robert Hooke and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, over issues of priority and intellectual property. Isaac Newton died on March 31, 1727, in London. He was buried in Westminster Abbey, and his contributions to science have left an enduring legacy. Newton's laws and theories remain fundamental to our understanding of the physical world.